Humility goes a long way in being a discipleship with Jesus. So does welcoming everyone to the table of unconditional love. All throughout the gospel stories, Jesus will dine with anyone. And today, he is dining with a leading Pharisee on the Sabbath, and the guest and everyone nearby are watching him closely. Jesus tells them a parable that has two parts. One is when you addressing the guest to say, when you are invited to a wedding party, take the lowest seat, not the highest seat of honor, because you don't want to be embarrassed by saying, "Excuse me, can you go move?" You often see that in weddings today. People will not sit in the front, towards the front, even if there are sectioned off reserve signs for the wedding party and anyone to sit behind that. Most everyone will leave places empty. Humility. To be humble. It is rooted in the Latin word humilis, which means on the ground. We're grounded in the truth of who we are. That's where we are seated. That's where we take our place in humility, grounded in the truth of who we are. Now, the second part of the parable, he's speaking to the host. And he says, when you invite people to lunch or dinner, you often invite your friends or family or people of great honor and distinction. And Jesus says, you do that because they might invite you back and you have to repay them. And then you get caught up in this social etiquette Olympics of paying each other back and forth. And Jesus is saying, invite people who cannot pay you back. Invite everyone. Invite the beggar, those who are broken. And in the gospel, the lame and the blind, meaning those who are unclean and outcast from the community. Jesus is saying, welcome them to the table. Welcome them to dinner because they can't pay you back. Jesus is the host of the great heavenly banquet of unconditional love that we can never repay, and we're challenged to act like Christ in today's world by welcoming all while we're being humble, grounded in the truth of who we are. So this week, let us pay attention to how we are grounded in our truth. How are we being humble in a healthy way? I'm not talking about beating ourselves up, but being humble in what the real meaning of that word means, on the ground of the truth of our being. And secondly, how are we welcoming the stranger, those who are considered outcast of our community today? We have family and friends who are considered outcast of our church communities today. How are we welcoming them? How are we being a symbol to say, here is a moment of the great heavenly banquet of unconditional love. Come and sit, come and dine with me. We have bread and wine here. Let us break bread in unconditional love. Let us sit at that table this week and welcome everyone. Amen.